I'm trying something new today. I hung a tapestry behind me because I was gonna shoot some stuff for my YouTube channel after this afternoon before I go to work. And I thought, and I've been thinking for the last couple of videos I've done, I feel like I need to have like a nice backdrop behind, a like a theme backdrop behind me that kind of takes away from my family pictures and like just the clutter of pictures that are on my wall behind me. And because I see a lot of other YouTubers or whether it be people on TikTok or YouTube that are when they're like if they're just sitting for every video and they're sitting in the same spot talking about something, they've got something behind them that just really balances out the background rather than seeing a person's pictures on their wall or their family pictures or some random art. Then you're just seeing like a tapestry or whatever. I think David has the same thing too. When we do Zoom calls, he just has a couple simple things on the wall behind him, and it's less distracting.
I like that. And when I first started recording for my course, I didn't have anything behind me, and it was actually my altar in the background. And then I started realizing, well, I don't really, it's nice, but at the same time, and there's like a window, I kind of like to keep that sacred space private. So I've kind of come away from using that, and I've rearranged some things. So yes, definitely a good point to beginning the channel.
Yeah, I get that because as I've grown in my spirituality, my level of give a damn has dropped in whether I really care about having a lot of stuff in my living room altar. Like I say living room altar really loosely, as in it used to just be a few candles and a couple and my pictures of my grandparents next to it, and it's kind of like my own La Fuenta. It sits all year, but it's not. I don't just have it out on the Day of the Dead. It's like it just sits all year round. I have my pictures of my grandparents on the counter. They're all gone now, but then as I've grown in my spirituality and how I show that authentically to other people, I've really grown in what I just put there. And it's really like an altar is a very sacred space, but having a living room altar is kind of like, I understand looking at it from a perspective from videos and showing other people, say just on a random video call or something, and thinking, well, that's really sacred to me, because sometimes I even now that I have it out and it's more, there's a lot more things on there, especially this year for Samhain this month. I really just loaded it up and said that's my Samhain altar, and it's just full of like branches of sage and candles, and I've got both ravens on it, a lot of elements that are usually in my bedroom altar I brought out into the living room, and I just went, all right, this is my Samhain altar. It's the season of the witch. Let's go. But
Yeah.
you get this little interior feeling once in a while. Like if I have somebody over, I think, well, are they gonna think like I'm some weirdo? Well, let them. I am kind of weird, but I'm letting them into my space. Hey, I guess we just kind of naturally segued onto a really interesting theme.
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
are you insecure of people seeing who you really are, even though you're already maybe letting them into your space by inviting them into your home, or just letting them into your own space of who you are by creating a friendship with them at all? Then once you've gone that far, what's the point in being insecure about them seeing who you are? Because at some point when you said, I want to be friends with this person, you said, I want them to see who I am. And if you're not going to let them do that, then what's the point in being friends?
Yeah. I love that. So, hi, Brittany. Thank you for joining us. um,
Hey,
and there's quite a bit that I would love to say about that, because I have my altar where I do a lot of my rituals and I do a lot of my work, and that's where when I'm preparing certain, like I do a lot of eternal flame rituals and things of that nature. They're always at my altar. That's my prayer space. That's my sacred space. But then, like, if you look on every single window seal of my home, even my son has a little altar on his window seal. Every room of my house has an altar space, or a space where we have our crystals and feathers and plants and things that are symbolic to us. I have spirit animals spread out all throughout my home on these different altars. But that one space is like that sacred space. And so it's kind of branches into that conversation you began about how we really do show people the aspects of ourselves we want them to see. And we present that. We're really good at showing up in these different roles, and we're really good at showing different people certain aspects of ourselves, but very few people do we show all of who we are to. And so I love this dialogue that you began, because oftentimes we do behave and respond to different people in different ways, and we show up and we show, okay, this is a safe part of me, I can show you this, but am I going to be fully and wholly vulnerable with everyone that I let in? And so that's really kind of this part of this human role. We have so many aspects of self. We have, so many parts of who we are, all these different roles and fun ways that we like to engage and to be. But you're right, very seldom are there people that know everything about us, or all of those parts of who we are in those roles. So I'd love to hear a little bit from you guys about that, and how you are embracing your authenticity, and how you're embracing those ways where it feels uncomfortable to be who you are around certain people, and how do you step into that fear and not back away from it, and try to be safe and allow yourself to be fully seen.
Unless, was there something else you wanted to talk about today, or did I just completely swing that in an organic direction? Yeah, it's funny, we say to I say to myself sometimes, like, that I'm a very multifaceted person, and different people get different sides of me, and it's interesting that we brought this up, because I've been learning to just let everybody see. I don't want to say pretty much all of me, because I mean, there's still going to be those few people that they're just not going to appreciate this side or that side of you. But at the same time, I don't know, if those people don't, then maybe they can just suck it and be who you are. Like, I don't know. I don't mean for that to sound facetious, but really, if they don't appreciate this side of you, sometimes I've thought about it. Okay, but that's part of who I am. So if you're my friend and you don't appreciate my sense of humor, and I have to filter my sense of humor for you because you don't appreciate that side of me, then you're kind of not really an authentic friend if I can't actually show you every side of myself. If I have to create a okay. Oh. If I have to create a specific version of myself that will work for you, then that's not authentic.
Word. Yes, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I really like, I don't think, like, I definitely had like a fear of opening myself, like being vulnerable with people, especially like school grade age, you know. I got judged a lot and bullied a lot, and because I like to be different, you know, and I think I've gotten to the point where I had developed so many relationships and friendships with people that were, like Jordan was saying, inauthentic. Like, it was like fake people in my life because I was putting on this persona that wasn't me just so I don't get made fun of. But like now in my life, I'm 25, and like I feel like at this point, either you accept me for who I am now, or like, just like Jordan said, like, suck it, dude, go away. Like, I ain't got time for that, you know?
Yeah. No, I gotta write that one down, because it's like you say something in flow sometimes and you go, wow, that was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for real though, that's powerful as a thought. Marie, what do you think about that? Like, if I have to recognize in you what is acceptable behavior enough that I have to create a specific me that will work for you, then that's not authentic of me.
Plus, I don't really think it's very healthy either. Like,
No,
is
I
for
don't.
me, you know? Yeah.
And so you guys have touched on some really important things, but I want to bring it back to how do we even begin to do that? Because first, we have to be willing to accept and embrace those aspects of ourselves. You know, we have to be willing to be
Oh, yeah.
weird with ourselves. We have to be willing to say, hey, this is who I am. And if people don't like that, then you know what? You're not the right person for me. And so often we go through a lot of
Yeah.
rejection being authentic. And so, you know, we have to lean into that rejection. We have to lean into that fear because, you know, being real with ourselves is more important than being liked, right? Because if we hide and
Yeah.
break, you know, we reject that, we're cultivating a shadow, you know, and we're saying
Yep.
that's a part of me that's not safe. And so oftentimes we're told how to act, how to behave, and what to do and how to be when we're children. And that's very, you know, unreal for us. And a lot of us, you know, star seeds, light workers, healers have often had those places where we've rejected parts of ourselves. And, you know, fortunately for me as a mother and the way that I raise my son is weird is great. And so my son has this whole saying, he's like, normal is overrated and let's just be weird. And so a lot of times we really do have to bring it back to that childlike, playful, you know, I'm going to do this because this is something that I want to do. Like for me, I love to swing on the swings. And I will go to the park and I will swing on the swings. And I don't care if grown adults watch me and think I'm strange. I don't care if they think I'm strange because I'm playing with bugs, because my happiness is so much more important than what others think about. And so we have to really begin to cultivate that deep relationship with ourselves that says, you know, this is a part of me that I want to embrace, that I want to give love to. And when we do embrace that part, we're bringing it out from the shadow. We're filling it with love and light because we're engaging with it and we're embracing it. And that's really the path to wholeness. And that's how to live authentically, is to find all of these parts of ourselves that we haven't been able to be authentic. And we start getting real with ourselves about who we are. And so that's, you know, I love this conversation because ultimately what we're doing is we're getting real and we're saying, you know, this is me and I'm going to love me for who I am. And then I'm going to be able to take that out and find people who will accept me because they're authentic and they're real with themselves too. And then we're going to have weird conversations together like we're doing right now. And it's beautiful. And it feels so good to be in that space rather than showing up and trying to be accepted for something that isn't the truth of who you are.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Acting like that is really really subsidiary based energy. I'm going to be so much of a follower that I'll recognize in you what's acceptable for you, so that I can pass, and just everybody will just accept me for that, rather than being you. Be loud about it, and just, you know, tell the world who you are, and don't, and whatever. Because I mean, at the same time, sure, understand that certain environments, you might, like professional environments, you may have to dull down certain styles, and then obviously on your days off, whatever, if you're going out, you know, that's a whole different thing. But at the same time, like, you don't have to filter yourself so much that you, I don't know, if you're somebody who's GQ community in any kind of way, and you're you're, say, polyamorous, and you're not monogamous, and why should you have friends that you feel like you have to just, you know, basically make it seem like that you're straight or monogamous? Like, you know, yeah, be authentic about who you are, and hang out with people that will literally accept you for who you are. But, you know, I just think it's a crime to yourself to spend time with people that you have to literally dull down those aspects of yourself just in order to be in
Yeah.
their company.
Yeah. I think like at the end of the day, what it all boils down to is like I was just having this conversation with Mariah actually. Um she asked me, because on my social media, if you are friends with me on social media, Jordan, I know you are. Marie, I don't think we're friends. You follow me on Instagram, but that's where like most of the tame stuff says. But like I am crazy and I do very extravagant things, and like I'll veil fan dance on my stories and like shake around and not care. And like Mariah's like, how do you do it? You know, like how do you be authentically yourself and not care about it? And I feel like at the end of the day, it all boils down to self-judgment. Like it's being okay with being who you are, you know, like, because for a really long time, just like you were saying, Jordan, you know, for a long time, I am polyamorous, and I'm also a part of the LGBT community. So that really did it hit home with me pretty close, you know, because for a long time I was like, well, ashamed, you know. I mean, it is different to have feelings like that, especially when you aren't surrounded by a lot of people who are also in the same, you know, boat as you are. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it mostly boils down to self-judgment and not judging yourself, and self-love, you know, loving yourself for who you are.
I think we can all agree then what that really is, what you're saying is that's more self-talk than even worrying about what everyone else thinks.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, like, nobody really cares if they'll just accept you for not. But at the end of the day, you know, yeah, you may have to deal with a little bit of people that, but at the same time, still, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of it is our own self-talk that says, oh, people are going to have an issue with this, with, you know, any little thing that you do. That kind of just goes back to things that, Marie, we've talked about in the last couple weeks too, where you brought up the subconscious just ruling you on autopilot, telling you, oh no, people aren't going to be into that. Stay normal. Your ego will be more comfortable that way.
Yeah.
And so I want to add in something here, because really to me, it's this seeking, right? It's when we're seeking outside of ourselves. We're seeking acceptance from another. We're seeking love, and we're seeking validation from someone else. And we can get caught in this loop of seeking and seeking and seeking. But rather than seek, we should begin the process of accepting, of loving ourselves for all of who we are. So rather than, looking at that, we can recognize that pattern of, oh, I'm seeking something outside of myself. I'm seeking validation through social media. I'm seeking validation through my friends. We can begin to recognize those patterns. And it is uncomfortable. I know it was uncomfortable for you when you first started being open about these places. It's scary. Being vulnerable and being real is extremely scary because it's not in our nature. We're not programmed that way. We're programmed to fit in the box, right? We're told this is how to behave. This is how to act. You act out of line, it's not going to be accepted. So we're having to be really brave and courageous in order to even be authentic. But why are we so attracted to authentic people? Why are we so attracted to people who are in their personal power? Because it inspires. Yeah, they're confident. It's inspiring. And so people are drawn to that energy, like magnetized towards you when you know who you are and you're not afraid to embrace all of that and get weird. And then when you do that, you hold the space for other people to step into that. But it's gonna be uncomfortable. But how more uncomfortable is it to live a lie, to lie to yourself, to look in the mirror every day and say, wow, I wasn't real again. The shame that you carry, the regret that you hold, and the power that energy has over you it's destructive, and it destroys you on a soul level. So the more you can embrace that discomfort, because you're going to have it either way, right? Either you're comfortably uncomfortable or you're comfortable with the uncomfortable. Right? So either way, you're going to experience that. So I guess, I wanted to share this as a way of encouraging people to just face the discomfort, to not have to live with it every day, because when you do, you feel this sense of power. You feel this sense of inspiration. You feel more creativity. You feel more joy in your life because you get to be who you are on the soul level. And that's really what this human experience is about. It's about experiencing everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and when we can roll with that and know that, like, yeah, there are challenges in life, but the biggest challenge is, taking those bold steps of being courageous and embracing that insecurity, just to say, hey guys, this is me, and this is a part of me that I want to share with you. And when others come together and celebrate that, it's the most magical and beautiful thing. And that's what we're seeing now is authenticity is being celebrated, and uniqueness is inspiring people to be true with themselves. And so yeah, there's always going to be challenges on that path, but they're going to be there either way. So just dive in, jump off the, jump off the diving board into the deep water, and just take some time to get real with yourself about what you love and what parts of yourself you don't feel like you're embracing, and then find ways to step into that. It can be silly things that you can do, but whatever makes you happy and brings you joy is so much more important than showing up every day to live a life that you don't really want to live.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to touch too. You said you kind of act like a magnet to other authentic people. I definitely notice. I actually have several people in my life right now who have at one point, brought me to the side or messaged me on social media and were like, thank you for being weird and for, talking about the things that nobody else wants to talk about, because like seeing me do these things inspires other people to also do them as well. The healing happens, or where the encouragement happens is you don't realize that the self-judgment and all of these negative emotions that you have to get over to get there is worth it in the end, because if you look at it a different way, you're also helping other people be more comfortable with themselves. And I love that.
Yes, I got chills as you were talking. That's so good. Thank you for sharing, because it does, people are attracted to raw, to real. People want real.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because when you I kind of like to think about it like when you see somebody who is like weird and free, a leader personality that really, like, you can tell they really command a room, simply not because they're domineering, but because they are who they are, and you can tell it gives them confidence, and they just simply beam with it. And that is very magnetizing, because people look at that and they go, wow, that guy's cool. I want to
Yeah.
hang out. I want to hang, or girl. They think, and I mean, if you allow yourself to see traits as simply traits that we embody the divine masculine and feminine in different sides of ourselves in necessary parts, it is kind of leadership in itself is a little bit more of a divine masculine quality, but understanding it simply still and just thinking that's where charismatic people come from is still good, because it's very true. When you see somebody like that, you think to yourself, wow, I want to hang out with that person. And people think like that when you see somebody that is just brimming with being themselves, and even if it's just being a total weirdo, being funny, and like really just being into themselves in a self-love kind of way, that you sit there and you go, wow, he's just so funny, I want to hang out with this guy. And you're just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a radiance,
Yeah.
because they aren't, they aren't sheltering, they aren't using their energy holding back out of fear.
Hmm.
They're so confident in who they are that they radiate the essence of light. It is this free flowing fun energy, because they've tapped into source energy. It flows through them. It takes so much energy to play a role, to play a part, and to try to filter yourself. And so you can feel that in somebody's energy field. It takes more energy to constrict and to hold back than it does to just be in the flow and be real. And when the soul gets to express itself in that way, you can feel the magic of that. You can feel the radiance of it. And people, everyone can read energy. Everyone knows when you're being real and when you're not. So ultimately, you're only lying to yourself.
Really. Yeah. You and I really truly don't think that being an empath is a very special ability. I think it's
Oh,
one of the most basic human senses. It's like saying that everybody is capable of Reiki at least level 1 to themselves, and to understand that energy exists, because that energy lives in everyone. So empathy is very connected to that, because it's just like everybody is capable of feeling other people and understanding other people, but some people have really big blocks to that, obviously, and they just don't express it, or they can't even understand it. So, but I agree with you. I really think that everybody is capable. It just is whether person to be open to it, or whether you have done the kind of work to open up to that.
well, and it's back to that acceptance. Have you accepted your awareness of that? Right.
Hmm.
And that's ultimately, to me, what it is. It's more of an awareness. We're all energetic beings. Everything is energy.
Hmm.
We're all capable of telepathy. We're all capable of getting visions. We all have gifts. We all have
Hmm.
skills. Everyone's are different, but we all dream. We all,
Yep.
feel. We all have sensations. It's just part of being human. And so, and for, I'll remember, and I want to kind of share with you one thing that my teacher taught me. She said, we all have empathy, but she said, it's not our job to be empathetic. It's actually, take empathy and replace it with compassion. Because it's not our job to feel everyone's stuff, because a lot of empaths identify with being bogged down by that. But rather, we should just recognize that we all feel, we all are aware of feelings. And when we can see that, we can also better discern what's ours and what's not ours. And it's not necessarily our job to feel, everyone's stuff. So we can kind of be more aware of, okay, this is mine, this isn't mine, and things like that. And so that's, it's a gift and a skill to hone. But I wish we were taught when we were children how to work with feeling and how to understand empathy in a different way. But that's probably a whole nother call, because I could talk for hours about that one.
Yeah, it takes a whole other bit of energy to understand what's your, even if you just experience that, and just to understand what it is, rather than being a closed off, really blocked person and not feeling anything towards anyone at all, or then at least you'll be acknowledging it. But you're right. I think even pop culture got it right. And the sixth sense is not just about seeing ghosts. I think, I truly think everyone has five senses, but if their third eye and their connection to their energetic self is blocked, well, then that sixth sense is just cut off. But if they're open to it, then they have a sense of intuition or clairvoyancy, or or mediumship. Yeah, maybe they can see ghosts, or yes, everybody dreams. Some people's dreams are clairvoyant dreams, and they can see the future, or whichever. And that's why deja vu is a thing, because a lot more people are clairvoyant than they think they are, but their eye is so closed that they think supernatural is a bunch of hocus pocus.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another key to accepting, accepting our gifts, being real with ourselves about what we feel. That's the biggest part of, I think, embracing our authenticity, is just getting real about our feelings, and not trying to suppress and hide them. Because when we can say, I feel afraid, I feel scared, this is scary, I feel that, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to be real. I'm going to embrace this. It is scary. Yes. Honor that. Acknowledge that, because if you go through life thinking it's not going to be scary, you're not going to feel these things, you're not going to feel rejection, you're not going to have those experiences, then you're depriving yourself of your own feelings. And so we don't want to do that. So accepting parts of who we are, really begins with embracing the feelings, of the fears, of the, all of the ways that we feel on a daily basis. And when we can lean into that and say, you know what, I do feel this way, but I'm still going to be real with myself. And that real begins with, yes, this is scary, but it's going to make me happy. And do that, because your happiness and your joy is more important. So that's, I think, the beginning steps for anyone who's trying to embrace a part of themselves, who's trying to create some sort of change, is to know that those who have done it before you, they leaned into the fear. They were terrified. They processed all of the emotions that came along with it, and they had to get real with themselves about that. And they chose to anyways. And so that's just so important to remember, that no one who's real has bypassed any of that. They were just as terrified as you are.
I love that you said, in order to reach happiness, you have to be uncomfortable. And I think it's important for people to understand that, yeah, it might be crazy now, but if you think of the outcome, it makes it worth it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And the journey and the growth through that, facing fear makes you strong. That's the strength that people are magnetized towards. That's that radiance. They're seeing that strength of that person's real, and they're understanding the energy of that. It didn't come from hiding. It didn't come from numbing. It didn't come from being weak. It came from leaning into the discomfort, from doing it anyways. And it is scary, but at the same time, joy and happiness and living, without rejection, without fear, you're not truly living. And it's so important to remember that anytime we're cultivating new experiences, whether they're scary or there's a lot of fear, we're leaning into all of the experiences of what life has to offer. And we're living fully by doing that. So yeah, disappointment will come up. Yeah, rejection will come up. Yeah, you'll have these expectations and your heart will be broken, but staying safe and living in a way that's comfortable hurts. You're not really getting to experience life. And I think most people will say, like, on their deathbed or towards the end, it's like, all they wanted to do was really live. So you have choices each day. And the primary thing here is just make the choice to embrace yourself and to live fully in all that life has to offer.
Just to Mariah and Holly that just joined, we kind of started off by talking about being being your most authentic self with people, but it was also it was segued from the idea of, if I have to keep creating a specific side of myself that will work for everyone else, then that's not the authentic thing for me. And I think what you're getting into even almost sounds like connected to the idea of manifesting, like we were talking about even a couple weeks ago, because it's like, if you want a specific thing but you keep filtering yourself in a certain way, then in a sense allowing your story to be different from your values in certain ways, rather than really embodying the lifestyle that will lead to the life that you want. Say you want say you want to really, you want to embrace being a certain type of person, but you think for some reason people are going to judge you if, like, I don't know, you want to be a metalhead and you want to go hang out at metal clubs and have metal friends. Well, then do that and have those kind of friends. Don't have squares for friends and and dress like a metalhead, because those people aren't going to understand you. I was watching Jordan Peterson the other day, and even he quoted the phrase, "Don't cast pearls before swine," because it's perfect. It really sums it up. If the people that you're entertaining and having in your life, or even people that you're talking to, aren't respecting what you're having to say, then talk to someone else. Like, don't give your wealth away to people who won't appreciate it.
Yeah, I love that.
Watching where your energy goes, and making sure that your relationships feed you and they're mutual. That's so important.
Just come back to you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give and receive equally. That's what it's all about,
What do you guys think?
I think it's all relevant. Like, today's been completely wild, and honestly today has been a lot of me just embracing it as it comes. Today, like, it's funny that I jumped in when I did, because like I would have been here sooner, but I had to deal with Catherine. She was in a thing with her teacher, and then there was a thing with her counselor on her computer, and I had to just kind of go with it, and it was like last minute and just, yeah. And then a lot of me also like checking into like my awareness instead of like sourcing from, okay, lately my perspective of things has changed. Like I've been of my awareness lately, and I've been like noticing things that I do kind of like in a playbook almost, and I'm like, why do I do those things? That's not like, why am I doing that? Like I notice sometimes like just emotional reactions to things, whatever. So I've become like more aware. So today it was a lot of me having to check my emotions because not everyone involved was being reciprocal. So it was difficult. So I had to come at it with a level of, okay, like maybe take the emotion out of it. So that's what I was dealing with before jumping into this. And because it's been really hard remote. And anyway, so today, this morning, I woke up and I was really, really sick. Like I've had a rough week. Like I have felt very like just physically rough. And so it's caused me to kind of slow down and really look at things differently. Like more so like, do I need to do this? Like how important is this to me? And if it's not, like not really doing it. And just kind of like internalizing. And today I woke up and I emotionally was okay, but physically I felt so ill. And I thought that at one point today I was going to throw up. I really felt that sick. And then an extended family member contacted me about something going on in their personal life with my cousin. And the two of them, they actually had a child that was supposed to be twins, and one of the twins was lost a couple weeks before birth. And this was like years ago. This was like 5 years ago, but the brother survived, and his name is Kellen. And right now the parents aren't together. My cousin and Kellen's father are not together, but he's with the father. Sending me voice messages of everything going on with their personal life. And I looked up, and right in my bedroom door was a 5-year-old little girl just looking at me. And I was like, I like instantly knew who it was. Like it was crazy. So I ended up literally being a medium for the first time in my life today between Stefan and Kellen and Trinity. And it was it was intense. So today's conversation, even what I just jumped into, like that's so relevant because today's been crazy.
Thank you for sharing that. This work is not always easy, being a channel and a medium and some of those things. It's a path for the brave, for sure. And a lot of people don't always understand the weight that a shaman can carry with some of those experiences. But you are strong enough to do the work, and it's just so important to honor yourself and your needs as well. And, be real about how you're feeling. It's tough, but you're doing a great job serving, and what a beautiful gift to get to give to somebody, that sense of closure. So it was powerful. Thank you for sharing, because it ties a lot into our conversation. Just you're embracing a new part of you, and that's so scary,
like,
right?
Come from? Yeah, and it was crazy. It was crazy because like I saw her in the doorway, and like in my mind I was like, it's okay, because her energy felt like, please see me, please see me. And then she ended up coming onto the bed with me, and I saw her go like this behind my phone because I was sending him a voice memo back about what I just saw. And at the same moment, or like a little bit before I was experiencing that, his son, who has actually has an indent in his ribs from where her head was in the womb, he said he like apparently at the same time that I was experiencing this, he started crying and saying that his baby sister's spot hurt. And like, so it's crazy. And so, but I started crying, but it wasn't, I honestly, I didn't feel anything. I felt this like huge lift of nothing, like if that makes sense. But I had these giant like throat, like cold tears just like coming out. And I don't know if it was, at that point, I really do feel like I was a vessel, but like I felt any like emotion on my end was just like grateful that I was able to do that, you know, like such gratitude, and like also a little bit of like, hold up, what's going on here, you know. But yeah.
Say true connection to sense of clair or true intuition is receiving it without feeling. I always know if like my clairaudience is in check when I hear something and I don't, and it's not because my subconscious was just overworking and throwing scenarios in my head or something. I always know if it's on point when I don't feel anything at all. And there's no worry, there's no anxiety. The thought just came into my head. So receiving a feeling from spirit, I think, is similar. It's like, you know, it's authentic because you didn't really feel, it just happened.
Right.
And so if you weren't feeling, then your conscious wasn't working. What were you trying to say, Marie?
Well, and so it is, I do agree with what you said. But when you come to do some of the work that we're doing here in shamanic practices and healing, it can trigger some deep responses within ourselves. And so it is important to remember that when that, you know, a lot of times when that, you need to separate yourself from that experience and be the observer and be the vessel. But so that's why you're doing your own work, so that you can hold that space without being attached to the story of what's happening and without feeling, you know, the emotions of what's coming up. There's times I do soul retrievals and it's just so beautiful. It brings me to tears. You know, there's times where I'm witnessing a death in a soul retrieval of somebody's past life, and it's challenging to watch. And you know, you experience that suffering, and kind of it hurts in your heart, but at the same time you're understanding that I'm just holding this space. And so the more you practice this and the more you're able to do this, the less you will be emotionally involved. But in so, you know, human suffering is a real thing. Pain is a real thing. And so there are emotions correlated with that, but it's back to that discernment and what I'm feeling mine, or is it someone else's? If it's theirs, it's not mine to feel. If it's mine, I need to come back and process this after I've done the session, after I've worked through it, and not bring my stuff and my emotions into the healing. And that's what makes a really good healer, is somebody who can show up and not be emotionally attached to what's happening. They're the observer. They're the holder of space. And if you're ever healing somebody and you're really involved in their story and you're emotionally attached, you may not, you know, you're in your wounding. You may not be in the right place to do that session or hold that space. Person, we honor our own healing first. Make sure that we're able to even hold that space, because if we're just going to get in and get our emotions involved in the healing of the story, we're not actually providing a service. We're colluding with them in that story of wounding. And that's how we discern what we're feeling. Is it mine? Is it theirs? And what am I bringing through this? And being aware of that. And so we're always wanting to be aware of that in any of our interactions. Not just as healers, you know, we want to look at our interactions with everybody. Am I just, you know, making it worse by getting in the emotions of it? Or am I coming in an authentic way and really listening and being a vessel, a provider of space? So, you know, regardless how you're looking to, you know, whether you're healing or just in friendships, you know, to be a sounding board, to be a person just listen. We don't always have to give advice. We don't always have to push our opinions and emotions onto other people. We're most powerful when we're just observing and listening. And we have to do that with ourselves too. We have to be the observer of our own thoughts in order to live that in our relationships. And so that's cultivating the deep awareness of ourselves, of how are we playing these roles? How are we showing up in our relationships? And because it's all a story, you know, everything that we're living out is some kind of story that we have in our subconscious that we, develop when we're younger. Some people may understand that, some not. But we're filled with all these belief systems, and that's how we engage with others. And when we're in these emotional aspects, we're usually playing out some kind of story or wounding. And we can talk about that more in depth in another call, because that's very much shamanic belief. But when we're showing up for people, it's good just to be that space and to be who's listening and observing and creating a safe space for people to be themselves, for people to show up and talk about what they're feeling and not be judged. And you can really feel that when somebody shows up for you in that way.
Oh,
Yeah, that's for sure. That's definitely something that you can feel.
well, not only can you feel that they're just being they're either fake or just feeling like they're being a boring one-sided person. I think it is okay to be a multi-sided person because that's what makes us interesting, but it's not okay to not show everyone all the sides of yourself. I mean, of course, you might understand that some of us have a little bit darker sides that we only show to some cohorts because we appreciate them better, but there's a difference between that and hiding some of the most forefront core parts of ourselves just because you're in a closet or something. But it's I realize that it's hard. Sometimes you feel like you're gonna be under a lot of fire for opening. Promise you, like event, like whether it takes a bit or a lot longer, it will eventually than it is to live in a reality where you have to lie about yourself. And that just doesn't feel right.
Well, and I want to add something to what you said, because I agree with that, but I also think too, we don't have to be vulnerable with somebody who isn't providing a safe space for our vulnerability. So when we're practicing authenticity, it is good to be vulnerable and it's good to jump into that, but we should never force someone to be vulnerable if they're not willing to provide a safe space for our vulnerability. And it's so important to remember that. When you're starting to branch out into this accepting of a new piece, it is a good idea to go in a space where you feel like you might be supported. You have to jump into the one space where that's going to be the person who's going to ridicule you, right? Like, do it in a way that isn't going to suddenly shock you and force that a piece back in a way that it's now terrified to come out and be spoken for. And I remember, having this conversation with my son, and we were talking about vulnerability and, teaching him this aspect of, people in life will ask you to be vulnerable. They'll ask you to do these things, but it's your job to use your discernment to feel into that. Is the space somewhat safe for that? And so we don't just open up the most vulnerable aspects of ourselves in a war zone, right? We start with a space that, yes, it may still be a challenge, and but we want to make it in the kind of a comfortable way if we can. Do that by finding groups of people that like those sort of things that you're drawn to and coaxing those pieces out of you. Because I think sometimes what happens is you're like, oh, I'm going to just be this person. And you jump out and you open up that into the person who has ridiculed it. Sometimes it's a parent who rejected that piece of you when you were younger. And so sometimes it's good to find those ways doing it in a way that you're going to be supported. take for instance, when I decided to embrace becoming a shaman, my father is a very spiritual person, but he literally laughed in my face when I told him I was going to take a class to become a shaman. Now, my mother, on the other hand, was like, yes, I support you, and so it was totally different, this different dynamic of, oh, I knew I would be safe with my mother. I didn't know how my father would respond, but telling her first and getting that support said, okay, you can go to him and you can handle being laughed in your face, because now he's a big supporter of my journey, right? Like, he grew into that. He knew I was taking it seriously. But, so easing your way into things can be good, but you do also want to jump. You don't want to be scared. So it's using your discernment to try to navigate these challenges in the best way that you can. No one's going to be able to tell you what's right or wrong for you. So yes, we want to kind of have some boundaries with it at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's
Well,
important to start. Sorry, Jordan. I think it's important not only to put boundaries out for yourself, like, because, like, where your own comfortability is, but, like, understanding the point of, I'm gonna do this and it's gonna make me happy, but it's gonna hurt. And then the other point where I'm gonna do this and it's gonna hurt the entire time. I think those are very, very different situations, as far as, where the positive outweighs the negative type thing. Like, if you're surrounding yourself with people just to have people around, like, that's very negative, and there is no plus side to that, in my opinion. I just got a message. I have to go pick up my partner from work. But I might not make it back to this. However, just to wrap up my thought, I think people need to get out of their own way of their own happiness, for one. I think that is the most important thing, is set boundaries, yes, but at the end of the day, know that you're the one that is going to die. Like, no matter how people, see it, yes, you can surround yourself with all these positive people, all these people that accept you, but you're the one that's going to either be cremated or be put 6 feet under. And ultimately, like, your happiness is what matters. So with that, I'm gonna peace out.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you showing up today. It means a lot. And I know, I'm surprised we've been able to finish the call this long. So I don't know at what point we'll be cut off, but we'll definitely
got a notification like right after Holly came in that said that there was no time limit on this Zoom call for some reason anymore. Okay. I don't know what changed.
It was it.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a lovely rest of your Wisdom Wednesday. And I'll catch up with everybody on Facebook or in Messenger chat. So
yeah. Sounds good.
Bye.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye. And I just realized we haven't heard from Holly today. So I'm going to ask Holly to jump in, because I just feel like she's been sitting there observing and has so much to share with us.
Yeah, I guess so. I really like what today's topic is on. It's something I was actually talking with the girls about yesterday that I've been struggling with. I'm devoting my energy to doing like my inner child work, to doing shadow work, trauma responses. I'm recognizing them. I'm able to recognize them before they happen and when they happen, and adjust the way that I'm responding to things. I'm feeling connected and aligned with my higher self, and like I'm really on the right path. And like spiritually and mentally, my energy is all there. It's good. I'm living in a place of gratitude and love and abundance. But physically, my body is taking a toll. I have lots of diagnoses, but bipolar 2 and borderline personality disorder are two of them. And I'm finding it a hard struggle between feeling like I'm at this place where mentally and emotionally, spiritually, I'm not depressed, but my body is still having all these physical symptoms, like, being lethargic, being super sleepy all the time, not feeling like I have the physical energy to get up, feeling like my arms and legs are just heavy and tired, and it's between the two. And this morning I pulled this card and I'll show it to y'all. It says
Reclaim your energy.
Reclaim your energy. Also, Brittany pointed out it looks like me with the hair and the green eyes. So I thought that was cool. But I was reading about it, and a lot of it's like, where are you directing your energy? Who are you giving your energy away to? And I feel like I have that on lock. I'm giving it away in all the right places and receiving it in the right places. And then at the end of it, it talks about, like, what about your physical body? What are you putting in your body? What foods are you eating? Like, are you being healthy? And it's made me realize that the balance of energy that I'm focusing on is all spiritual right now. And I can't forget about my physical body, because in this lifetime, like, we're tied into one for this life, and I have to take care of my physical body if I want to feel completely aligned. And I feel like this topic.
Yeah, I think that's really important that you just brought that up, because I've been doing also a lot of self-work lately, and like especially with this abundance and manifesting money that you girls have been talking about and that we've been engaging in lately, with this 21 days challenge of sticking to it and doing the work that really feels like self-work homework. It's funny because as Marie keeps bringing up, which of us, like, as shamans and other things, also have a life of helping other people, but lately is really humbled me and reminded me that I'm still never going to stop working on myself. And lately, a lot of those things have come up as a lot of not just simple self work, but literal shadow work that had blocks and hard, like, blockages. But then I've been also still getting into exercising more and more lately again, even though I have a new job that takes more time in my schedule and have to work around that. I'm still finding time to, make it to the gym or whatever, or take my dog for a walk or run, or just do yoga at home or whatever. But the point is, like you say, nourishing your physical body and doing things just as much as you're doing all this self-work.
Now, I have some pieces to add too. Thank you, Jordan, because I definitely agree with that. But I also want to remind you, Holly, that when you're doing energy work, it takes a big toll on the body. So we think about ascension, we think about energy shifting. And as our vibration increases, it takes the body a lot longer to catch up. So just bear in mind, yes, we want to have healthy practices. We want to have these healthy patterns, but remember too, when you're going through the process of doing that deep inner work, your body needs to rest. Drink lots and lots of water. Water helps to stabilize and ground the body and shift out that energy, but it is good to remember that the physical effects of ascending, of changing your vibration and stepping into your light do have a major effect on the physical body. It's interesting that you bring that up too, because collectively what I'm seeing is a lot of us are being asked to embrace our greatest challenges. A lot of what's come up for me recently has actually been within my body, and it's been about, resting and taking deeper care of my body. Even though, I've been on this path for many years and I've been healing and shifting for many years, I think right now a lot of what's coming up for us in this particular time frame is very much physical. It's very much about the body and honoring that. So I think you've got a really great mindset about it. Yes, we want to eat healthy. We want to do yoga. We want to, show up for ourselves and for our rituals and our practices and show that we're committed. But we also want to take time to honor that rest as self-care. It's so important to schedule time to just do nothing, to lay around, and that was a really hard one for me, because my nature is just to go. I have so much energy. And then that's when this physical thing started coming up and saying, well, you have all of this energy, but right now you have to slow down. You have to slow down. And it took, some pretty intense, serious stuff beginning to happen for me to get me to slow down. And, I'm still kind of going through the motions of what that looks like with my physical body. And I'm hoping for some positive test results tomorrow. So we'll see. But at the same time, it's great to remember that when we don't choose to slow down, the universe will force us to slow down.
Mhm.
And so while we want to go, we have all these expectations, we have these ideas of everything that we're meant to accomplish. Sometimes we have to remember to just be, to just simply be. And there's so much in that space of letting ourselves be, of letting ourselves rest and slowing down to honor the body, to take that time to just listen to what the body needs, because sometimes we're filled with so much energy because we're such light beings and we want to serve, we want to do so much to help other people. We have so many dreams and ambitions and things we want to accomplish, but without the body, we're not able to do that. And so that balance is extremely important. Sometimes we need to be the monk, right? The meditator, the one who's just enjoying the fact that they're alive and breathing and just coming into the breath and remembering that's who we are. We're the beer. And other times we get to be the doer. We get to be the practicer. And we need to find that balance. Those scales should be even and equal, because that's how we're going to have the longevity. That's how we're going to really be able to show up in the long run. That's how we prevent burnout. And so there is something very important about just remembering it's okay to simply be.
Yes, and that's definitely something I struggle with, resting, allowing myself to rest, because suffering through bipolar 2, if you're familiar with it,
I am.
it's these, it's deep levels of depression and then hypermania, where you have all this energy and you're going, but then boom, you crash again. And I've literally last spring, before I started really diving heavy into my spiritual journey, I was going to see a psychiatrist regularly and taking medications and stuff, but it got to a point where the rest became, I stayed in my house for 2 months. I didn't leave my house for 2 months. Like, my groceries were delivered to me. I literally did not leave my house. And so now whenever, I feel like, hey, today I'm tired, today I need that rest, I just sit there and I feel guilty. And I'm like, no, you're going to fall back into this pattern. You can't do this. You're not allowed to do this. This isn't healthy. And I guess it's hard to find that balance of allowing myself to rest and knowing that it is healthy and that I'm in control and I'm not going to fall back into that pattern again. So resting is definitely something I like. Just letting myself be is hard to do without having that guilty feeling.
Yeah, I often say that to over-exercisers who think they can work out for days and days at a time without just taking a rest day every couple days, or even a couple days a week. There's people that I've met over the years that were nuts, that would work out for a week and a half and then before they'd take a rest day, and eventually your body will just get sick or something and it'll force you to take a rest, and then you'll be out for a week or something, and that's not healthy either. But something that really came up for me that I have to admit is how humbling it was to hear Marie say sometimes when you're dealing with all this spiritual and mental and metaphysical stuff, you just need, or even if you're doing really active, sometimes you just need to rest, because then from more of a health coach perspective, because I've seen so many that just simply work themselves and are not into being physically active. And I've met a lot of people over the years that had blocks to being physically active. What I saw and what I've seen over the years was a lot of people who have who have listed there is a connection from the body to this person, then you would certainly benefit from not resting too much, but at least being active enough that you find out just how much certain body parts are even connected to certain chakras and certain sides of our energetic self. I've specific emotions because they were in a yin yoga class, or things like the fact that there literally is different poses in yoga for every chakra. I love chakra yoga because it puts more intention behind yoga. And you realize that your body and your spirit are so connected that when if your love is out of alignment, your upper back and your chest, whether it's in yoga or with weight training or a different exercise, then you're literally helping that in a physical to metaphysical sense. So it is still important to even do exercise at all, because there's a lot of people who spend so much time working on themselves, but they don't even want to be active, that they're losing out on that potential benefit. Maybe they're ungrounded, so they do more like warrior and tree type yoga, or like actually doing leg day instead of skipping leg day, like that cliche says, will literally help your root. So things like that are still important to be mindful of, I think.
Yeah, and that's definitely where I am, is like caught between I'm so busy giving all my energy to my light work and my self work that I am neglecting my physical side, even more unhealthy. But I just started doing yin yoga a little over 2 weeks ago. I had never even heard of it, and I went to a class. And I went 2 Sundays ago, and then I went this past Sunday, and it definitely correlates with the chakras, and it's an amazing form of yoga, and it's almost like a form of rest as well. And then there's like yoga nidra, that's a form of rest. And I think tapping into some of those things that are active but also a form of rest would be healthy for somebody like me, of taking the rest way too far and leaving it all internal and not going out and caring about my physical body or what I'm eating. I'm plant-based, but most of the time I just eat microwave stuff, and we all know that's not very healthy for you. So I think, yeah, it's such a, like, it's a balance act. That's what it is. It's about balancing. Like, you need the rest, and you can't beat yourself up over the rest. And you also need the physical activity, not just for your physical body, to really be aligned.
You know, and I have so much that I'd like to add, because I was actually diagnosed with bipolar when I was younger. And my mother later said, you know, when you were going through that dark period, you were going through a shamanic awakening. I didn't know what to do with you. I didn't know how to get you the help that you needed. And so it was very challenging looking back on that, and having a mother who said, yeah, you were dealing with a lot of heavy stuff. You know, you didn't have time to process all of those deaths, all of the loss, everything that you went through. I turned to drugs and addiction because I didn't know how to cope with everything I felt and being so different and everything. So I can totally relate to what you're going through. And what helped me to navigate that was that sense of getting real with myself, doing my inner work, doing my healing. And now I experience an array of emotions, but they never overwhelm me. They never consume me. And that was kind of the depression, was that emotion could consume me. And I did not have the tools and how to pull myself out of it. And so on this path, I want you to look at it, you're cultivating the tools to manage your emotions in a more stable way, so that now you hopefully won't have the dips. And, you know, I can definitely talk to you more about this. But so when you're feeling depressed, one of the biggest ways to work with depression is to move the body, is through ways like yoga, but you want to do it in a gentle way. You know, just moving the body will shift the mood. You know, uplifting music, things like that. What are you feeding yourself? Is it feeding the depression, or is it allowing you to cope with your overwhelming sense of emotion in a different way? So I just want to remind you that you're definitely not alone. A lot of healers go through that type of experience. It's so normal because you feel so much, but it's just so important to remember that in your core, your emotions do not have the power to consume you unless you give that power to them. And so reach out for support is the number one thing that I can tell you. Talk to people on the path that have been there, because they will remind you that, you know, yes, you feel this now, but it could shift in 10 minutes. But, you know, if you don't have those tools and those resources, you may, you know, you're learning to get that power back, right? That's what you're going through in this process. So you're doing so many good things, and you have the power to heal yourself. You are not defined by this diagnosis. I came out of that. Anyone who has met me would say, you're the happiest person that we know. They would never know the things that I've been challenged with in the past. And how I pulled myself out of that on my own. You know, I didn't have that support. But I did it because the last time I tried to take my life, I wasn't allowed to. I went to the light and I was told I had to come back. And Archangel Michael sent me back. I saw the light. I experienced being out of body. And the very next day after that, I saved a man's life. I was right beside him when he had a seizure. And it was this sense of spirit told me, I was only 19 years old. And spirit said, you have a purpose. If you had not been there, that man would have died. And so it's you know, these really, really challenging experiences that have brought me to be a healer. And so I remind you that, because your you know, experiences are also a great part of your medicine, of how you're going to be able to overcome them. And so it's remembering that, yes, today I feel like shit and I don't want to get out of bed, but you know what? I have a purpose, and I'm not going to drown in that self-pity or in that emotion, because it's not who I am. It's something I feel, and it's real, right? So I can acknowledge that it's real, but at the same time, it doesn't define me, and it's not going to get the best of me, and I will pull myself out of it. Right now, I may need to feel it. And you know what? In 10 minutes, I may not even feel it anymore, because I may cut on a happy song and I may be good. So it's utilizing your tools and looking at it as an experience, and not something that's going to continue to happen that has this power over you, because it doesn't. Your mind thinks it does, and your mind is so powerful that it can convince you that it does, but that is only real if you allow it to be.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed taking back my power. Yesterday, I woke up feeling like physically just feeling so depressed and feeling like I'm just going to stay in my bed all day. And then I was like, no, get your gratitude journal out. Let's do a little bit of that. And that and then I talked to the girls, and that definitely helped. They always help, having that support there. And then I put on some music and got up and danced around in my room for 20 minutes, and literally all the feelings were gone. Like, I just felt instantly better, because we have that power. Like, it doesn't have that power over us. We have the power. So.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And there's something comforting about just knowing that you're not alone. You're not the only one that experiences this, and everybody is battling something, no matter how small or big that is. Everybody is walking around with some sort of unspoken battle, and I think when we can get real and we can talk about those things in safe spaces like this, it just reminds us that the challenges are how we grow, you know, and when we've endured something that tested every aspect of who we are, and we overcame it, the strength that we can hone in when the next challenge comes, you know, we remember who we are and how much we can endure, and we know how strong we are, and that's something that really helps us to make a difference in the world and to help others. Is honing in on that inner strength that comes from navigating these really challenging aspects of life. So, anyways,
Gosh,
thank you.
what an important talk today.
I mean, I think it's all like really relatable content, you know. It's something that I tend to forget myself, you know. Really like awakening, like we raise up a bit, you know, and then you know, it's on to the next thing that we're supposed to do, and then we'll raise up a bit more and stuff. So I've noticed that, like, for some people, like, it's just what's, you know, it is what it is for them. Like, some people are just, I guess, meant to hit them at a more rapid pace than others sometimes. And that's a lot of what like this year was for me. So I had like a good, because I have the bipolar too. I always forget that, you know, I used to look at it like that, and then when I started realizing that every time I've hit like a level up in my path, right beforehand was like this super low period that I didn't think I was going to get out of, or I didn't think I was going to find a way to get out of. I've been on my spiritual path in this like 11 years now. And I just got a text message from Trevor Hall. Cool. Anyway, so I've been on this path for like 11 years, and it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago that I really can say that I truly started awakening, like for real awakening. And it literally took losing Cody and losing my dad. It was like those two things sent me into this weird space where I was running from grieving it. And because I knew like once I faced it that it was gonna be, that's it. And eventually like moving up here, that was all me like feeling like I was following my dad's call. And then when I got up here, just so much more crazy stuff happened. Like Holly has like, she's known me for a while, so she's known all the crazy roller coaster crap that's happened over the past few years. And it's been like, there's gonna be a book, but it's been just like that, where it's just been like crazy stuff, and then like to tell people who aren't like involved like we are, like they would think you're lying or you're crazy or you need both and you need to be locked up. You know, just wild stuff. And they were all like, they were not pretty, but they were beautiful at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, you know, it really takes like the shift in perspective. Like I've been moving up here, because we've been talking about moving back to Myrtle Beach, and I was like already in my head like playing future conversations. Like sometimes I prepare myself for like worst case scenarios for like certain like interactions. That way I know when it happens, it's not like like a super blow to me. And I know that a lot of family is going to be like, well, then why did you move up there just to move back down there? Like I already see it. And and I really was. And then I stopped myself. Like me stopped me, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, you know that you're supposed to go back down there. You know that you're following and you've been doing everything you're supposed to do. Who cares if they don't understand it? And then I started realizing like everything happens for a reason. If I didn't move up here, I wouldn't have had the closure that my family is not who I thought they were. Like on my dad's side, and I hate to say it, but like the whole time I've been up here, I've reached out many times, and I've learned that they're not the kind of people that we were when we were kids. On that front, you know, and also my dad seeing that I tried. And then, you know, if I didn't come up here, I wouldn't have had to literally take some kind of, at the time I thought it was a demon. Now I like, since all of my other things are being, my perspectives are changing. I helped get something out of someone that was trying to attack us in my house, and when I had like no idea what I was doing a couple years ago, and I did it in a way that like I had then that like this thing doesn't want to come around anymore. And it's like curious as to how I did what I did, whatever I did, but it doesn't want to come around, which that gave me the confidence to be like, you know, like what are these other things that people tell us like that come and mess with us? Like, why should we cower in fear or like feed that fear with them? And it showed me a bravery that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have to face it in the moment. And I wouldn't have done it if I didn't move up here. Like, the right time at the right perspective. No one wants to go through that. And it was like 11 and a half hours of just me and this dude in my kitchen. It was crazy, but it was worth it because it showed me something. It was that lesson. So shifting and being able to see that all these heavy things, like they are all like the biggest teachers, I guess is what I'm getting at, you know? And if I didn't come up here for these quick couple little years, I wouldn't be coming back with that knowledge. I am now. And you know, like there was just so much, like there were so many side missions that needed to be done, you know? And that's what's going on, I think, a lot with you too, Holly, is like you've already been like awakening, and now because just everything is right, like with the planets, the work you've been doing, the connections you've been making, just everything, now it's all like the engine's not just like revving, now it's turned over and you know. That's what I was getting.
Definitely. And like, you know, you going to New York served its time, like it served its purpose. Everything has its purpose. And for anybody that doesn't understand, like, well, that's on them, but like everything has its time and its season. And if you feel like, you know, your job there is done and you're being called somewhere else, and follow your calling, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says, no matter who they are. Like, so just don't
Exactly.
doubt
And that's what I've been
yourself.
doing lately. And it's so funny because I've, like I told you, like on our new moon meditation we just had, I pictured like inviting my higher self to come into the room, and then in my mind's eye, whatever, my higher self became a pair of pants, and I put her on, and then she just became like a full-bodied thing. And ever since like that day, I have been literally like, I don't speaking my truth, even if I know it might rub someone the wrong way. And but you know, to an extent, because I've also been practicing like this non-attachment and stuff with like with Marie and like the course, and that's also helped me too. So like all these different little things that are integrating, you know. And but as of lately, it's really been a lot of trusting in myself, like all these things that I was doubting in myself. Like I've had like tell me the news this year, and a lot of time battling. And then as of since the other night, I'm like, you know what, if that's me, then that's who I am, and I'm just gonna embrace it. And if it's not true, then it's not true. But who am I to like hold myself back from what could possibly be my truth and what I could do with it, you know? And really, really just owning my shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love how this is all really flowed together. We haven't even changed topics this whole time. We're still talking about authenticity. We've had other times where the topic just changes because it's organically segueing into something else, but it's been a solid hour and a half of talking about being your authentic self. But it's such a big topic.
It is, and it's so relevant lately. Like I see so many people like coming to me lately who are just like, hey, how are you doing? Like small talk, and I'll, you know, I'll ask them how they're doing. Like a lot of people are really low right now, but it's a lot of people that I have noticed a change in their ways. Like they're more like someone that I notice who might have like used to be like a grown adult that was playing video games all the time and is now like, well, I haven't played video games in 6 months and I sat down yesterday minutes, like you know. And even though this person is super duper low and I had to like really give them like a drill sergeant like hype up conversation today about going to sit outside and really just like grounding and just, you know, just really like letting it out. And I'm seeing all these people who are super low, but they've been doing these different small baby step things in their day to day that are really, in a way, like a level of work, you know? So I see this like, I see the shit, the ripplings of this like great awakening, you know. I really, and then I told someone, but I noticed the other day there is a movie coming out in December, and I think it's going straight to like Disney Plus or something, but it's called Soul, and it is literally like a Disney Pixar movie of and the characters are so about, it's about that transition station between this life and that life as we like reintegrate and then decide what we're going to do next and then go back in, like, and that's literally what it's about. And it's a kids movie that they're about to put on Disney Plus. And then there's another one that is about this Japanese goddess that I don't know too much about, so I'm not going to really like dive into her, but I learned a little bit about her last year, and it's literally about, but it's like modern day. They made it like into a movie, but as far as where she is, who she is, what her associations and correspondence are, like her lore, everything, it's all in the movie. And it's a goddess that most people never hear of, you know. And then I have also like Moana and Coco, like those two too, even though they just came out and like, you know, within the last couple of years. To me, I think it's a teaser of what's getting ready to be like our reality. You know what I mean? Like
I've seen the ad for that movie.
like Corey was literally like, oh, they're, I told him, I was like, if you think about it, all the movies that have been coming out from like around now until the past couple, I don't know, the past couple decades, they've all been like about war and crooked politics and shopping and like lust, like ill intention driven kind of, there's those kinds of tones on like almost everything that's in the media, and like even us growing up, like not everything, but and now these really interesting, more conscious kind of movies, and they're projecting them like Disney and Pixar, and so I told Corey, I was like, welcome to the Great Awakening, like
Yeah, I think you definitely do have a point there. Like a lot, I know we know that there's a lot of evil in and out of different movie studios. Even other kids' movies have different hidden themes, but I think it's what you're saying, that there's starting to be a lot of spiritual movies that are leaning away from the mainstream having to be about just Christianity, and like with Moana and even Inside Out opening up psychology to kids, and then you have Soul and different things that are very much opening up the general population of elements of other cultures and spiritualities and religions, rather than just having movies that are like about toys like Toy Story, or about like you say, other elements of war like The Lion King. As much as it's a sweet story, there's just like a lot of battle there. And yeah, although that's a good one too, though, because that deals with reincarnation and the spirit being in the sky and always looking down on you. So that's a good.
Yeah, I cannot watch Moana without crying. Like that is ultimate. That's like one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm not even gonna lie. Like that's more my favorite movie than the kids. And I like the first time I watched it, I picked up on everything. Like I noticed about the grandmother and how she was like the crazy village, crazy old lady of the village, but she was really the one who was like, no, this is our people's story. Like, listen to this, and like teaching it to the kids. And like even Corey, I'm gonna be her when I grow up. And like, and she turns into the stingray at the end, and like how she made the joke at the beginning, like, well, if I don't, then I chose the wrong tattoo and stuff, and like all that like spirit animal symbolism, and just how confident she was in her ways, and she was like, no, Moana, like this is like, I don't know, just the whole movie, like the tones that it had, Polynesian culture, because I was like, a lot of this, it felt familiar, just a different culture, if that makes sense. Like, but it was very close to what I was feeling. Yeah.
And I really appreciate you guys sharing this. I'm running out of time, so I want to just let you guys know I've only got like a couple more minutes because I've got an appointment I've got to get to. So I don't want to rush you, but I love how you kind of honed back in on this piece that we are awakening. We are shifting our reality. We're creating the new earth. We're changing. So as we're changing, the world around us is changing. And as we were talking about some of this, one of the big things that I feel is that reminder that, the brightest light really does come from the darkest spaces, and that, the challenges that we endure do serve a purpose. And so, everything is teaching us something. There's always a lesson. We signed up for this, and we're co-creating with the universe, so we can create so many things, but at the same time there are lessons for us to experience while we're here, and there's beauty in both the light and the dark.
I totally agree, because without the dark you can't really enjoy and really understand the love It's true light. You don't understand dark. You know, you have to have that duality and that balance. And honestly, like the dark light, like you said, to me, like they're equally as beautiful. You know, like in their lessons and their ways.
Yeah, so much. We, you know, you can't really embody who you're meant to be unless you don't live in balance and dealing with it and being aware.
Right.
And that's once authenticity too, because when it'll always, that shadow will